Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. As you can kind of tell by the title of the video here, kind of a recent finds video. It was about maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that. I think it was JC over at the flip side. It was either JC or Chris Profi, but I think it was JC that sent out a group text that said, hey, there's a kind of a blowout sale going on at Acoustic Sounds. And so usually I don't look for a lot of new stuff online. I don't go to websites like Acoustic Sounds that sells mainly new stuff, which is mainly because I work at Riverbend Records, and if I'm going to buy new stuff, I'm going to, get it from our distributor and buy it through our shop and that type of thing. But so I was like, well, yeah, let me go check it out. There's a big sale, and sure enough, there was a humongous sale kind of going on, which was kind of nice. So I decided to jump on board, and I mainly just did my focus on jazz, because one of the cool things, when I think about where collecting was 10, 12 years ago, when I used to go to the stores all the time, like a brand new Blue Note reissue, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, although these weren't exactly the best quality reissues, back then, but still, they, brand new Blue Note reissues, you were averaging maybe maybe $12 a piece for those. And so one of the things that I used to do back then was especially when I just first started to get into jazz, I would that's a cool looking cover. Like, I have no idea what this is, but it's only $9, $9.99. So check it out and see. Like, it was no big deal to risk $10 on it. But these days, $27, $33, $44, $45 a pop. It's kind of hard just to risk, on an album, a jazz album that you don't know, or that type of thing. So with the prices, that was the first thing I thought was, I kind of got back in that mode of, hey, let me just dive into some new jazz albums that I've never heard and just, check it out, because I think I averaged about $9 a piece for each one of these records. So it was kind of cool. So let me just kind of share with you what I picked up here. Number one, Donald Byrd. And this is his release from 1975. Yeah. Again, really cool pickup, new discovery. I mean, usually when you have those legendary artists that were around, the 50s, 60s, and made all this amazing traditional jazz and just some of the big names, I usually get weary about their albums that started to come out in like maybe the late 70s, or those that actually made it into the 80s and stuff like that, because they usually take like quite a big turn, and it's nowhere near the traditional stuff that you're used to, but kind of taking on what was going on in the times of the late 70s and 80s and blah, 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 with disco and R&B and all that kind of stuff. So, but I thought $9, let me just kind of give it a shot. And I really end up liking this album. And it does do exactly what I was just describing. This is really much more of an R&B album than it is even a jazz album. But it was kind of cool because one of my favorite soundtracks from the 90s is a Above the Rim soundtrack. Kind of some goofy songs lyric wise on that album, but it's a great R&B and hip hop album. It really is. And I didn't realize that the song Deep Enough off of that album was actually a sample off of this, which was kind of a cool discovery. I was listening to this the other night, and it came on, and I was like, holy cow, that's Deep Enough off of Above the Rim. So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense why I ended up loving this so much. So that was a great discovery there. George Braith, Extensions. Again, this is from 1964. Another album I had never heard and really enjoyed it. I mean, just what you kind of expect from great Blue Note jazz right there. So that was a fantastic one as well. This was probably one of the top two that I feel that came out of the bunch, which was Jackie McLean, and this is Destination Out, and this is his release from 1964. I have a number of pieces by Jackie. I had never heard this album though, and this might have automatically moved its way up to being my favorite Jackie album. I mean, just like that. I mean, I just really, really dug this. And I think the thing that's so cool about it is a lot of these guys are such geniuses that were on, the Blue Note label. And sometimes not sometimes, but what you can oftentimes find with a lot of these jazz artists is, they get to going and, you have Blakely, Coltrane, and you know, Morgan and like all these guys playing on the same album, the same song, like all that genius in one place. And it can sometimes get kind of busy, you know, not too busy, but just the nature of, you know, the trumpet player just doing his thing, the sax player doing his thing, the drummer, and it's beautiful, and they're all just going a million miles an hour. But this, there was a lot of spaces on there that were just the opposite. Slowed way down, gave you 3 or 4 notes, and then just a complete moment of silence where like no music at all. And then, you know, so it was just kind of like, it's like I said, just the exact opposite. And something about that just completely pulled me in. I mean, it has a lot of spaces, just a regular kind of, you know, jazz as well, but it was that element of this album that really drew me in. So I love this one to death. That was awesome. So that was a heck of a discovery right there. Another cool one here was Reuben Wilson, and this is Love Bug. This is from 1969. I mean, just by the cover of that, I had to check it out. I mean, that's just too cool right there. And the cool thing about listening to this album is this made me decide I'm going to go ahead and break out a separate section in my jazz collection, because you guys know how I like splitting up my genres and everything. And I'm going to start one that's going to be labeled Groove Jazz. Excuse me. Which is basically any of that jazz that carries, like I was saying with the Byrd, that carries a very, very heavy R&B or kind of psychedelic-y feel to it, something like that. You know, there's some jazz you sit back and listen to and take in, and some jazz that can make you want to get up and dance, right? And I think that dancey, the jazz that makes you want to dance, kind of goes into that groove jazz that I'm thinking about. So stuff like Midnight Creeper by Lou Donaldson, for example, one of my favorite jazz albums. You know, that definitely falls in that category, and this one does too. Reuben Wilson's Love Bug. And like maybe the easiest way to describe that is if you're watching an Austin Powers movie, and you know how they always try to connect Austin Powers to, like, you know, the 60s and the psychedelic and the colors and the, like, you know, just the whole 60s funky groovy feel, right? You could take some of the songs off of that album and put it in the background of scenes of Austin Powers to draw out that feel. So that's kind of what this album is, and that's kind of what that whole groove jazz section is going to do in my collection. So, because I like to do that kind of weird stuff. Arguably my second favorite, if not kind of right there with the Jackie discovery in this pickup, is this Kenny Cox and the Contemporary Jazz Quintet. You know, I saw that cover and thought, it might be kind of silly, might be kind of, you know, kind of a weaker album, so to speak, but let me give it a try. Why not? I mean, it's only like $8, I think, and the music does not match this cover at all, because this is an awesome freaking album. Really, really cool. So great to discover Kenny Cox, and definitely looking forward to discovering more by him. And these last two, haven't spun them yet, so I really can't say much about them at this point, but Bud Powell, Time Waits was another pickup, and this Don Wilkerson, Preach Brother. And as you can see, this record's not even in this one because it's on my turntable in the other room, queued up, ready to go. So I'm going to be listening to that next. But if they sound anything like they look, both of those are going to be fantastic as well. So anyway, there you go, VC. Those are the Acoustic Sounds pickups from the sales. Again, JC, thanks for the heads up. As always, let me know what you think. And for some of you jazz lovers too, like the way I was describing that Jackie album and so forth, if there are some other albums that you guys know about that really kind of fit that same vibe and mold and all of that, please let me know, because yes, I have a bunch of jazz albums that I love, but I'm still by far not, you know, deep into the weeds of knowing all the great jazz albums out there. So always throw some my way. And as always, thanks for watching, guys, and let me know what you think. All right, take care, VC.